two of the things you said right there, I want to go into keto and low carb. So what are your thoughts on ketogenic diets for fat loss in general?
I think initially they can work well for a lot of people. The problem is you can start to see increases in cortisol when you really drop the carbohydrate intake, because you're putting a metabolic burden on the body to start creating its own glucose. And so the body wants to produce 130 grams of glucose per day. If you allow that to come through, a lot of it from the diet, then it reduces the metabolic stress on the body. Now, of course, the body can do this and you can live completely fine doing it. But thyroid hormones seem to not work as well on a very low carb diet. Cortisol does seem to increase. And for the majority of people, energy does go down when they cut out their carbs to, let's say, less than 50 grams. So what I found is that for most people, consuming anywhere from 60 to 160 grams of whole food carbs is really much better for vitality, being able to sustain that type of diet. And if most of those are coming from low starch vegetables like broccoli, asparagus, zucchini, things like that, you're going to see a huge weight loss because it's so full of fiber, so low in calories that people don't overconsume it. And where the starch comes in is typically for people who are highly active. How I like to use the plate model for those people is about half plate vegetables, a quarter plate starch, so potatoes, sweet potatoes, and then a quarter of the plate being meat or animal foods and eggs and things like that. And for your typical person who's not super active, I would probably eliminate the starch and just do a half a plate of vegetables and a half a plate of animal foods. And those two plates work for the majority of people that I've worked with.
So you're not a fan of low carb diets for weight loss?
Not long term. I think acutely, maybe for 2 to 3 months. But I think after that, most people plateau. And they feel like, and you want to start exercising more too once you've lost the weight. And that's where ramping up the carbohydrate intake really helps, that type of lifestyle.
And what about intermittent fasting? I saw a little bit of that in the book. What are your thoughts on that with weight loss?
Highly individualized, just like everything. And I find myself on a nice hard workout day, I won't intermittent fast. I'll have 3 meals a day and I'll be completely fine. I'm not gaining weight doing that because it's almost like your exercise routine is kind of eliminating a meal anyway. So you're almost intermittent fasting anyway by eating 3 meals, but working out that day. So I don't suggest people who are lifting heavy and doing a hard, vigorous exercise to cut out that meal because I don't think they'll feel as good. So I think fueling workouts is important. But for some people, eliminating breakfast or dinner on non-workout days definitely helps some people. And I think people who are not active, intermittent fasting is like a godsend for those people.
And let's talk about that because you said eliminating breakfast or dinner. Most of the people I know that are intermittent fasters, myself included at times, just skip breakfast. And then we call it intermittent fasting. I'm just too busy for breakfast normally and just skip it, go into lunch, have dinner before 8 p.m., a 16-8 split, let's say. Yeah. But would you recommend that someone maybe kickstart the metabolism with the breakfast and then go a secondary a little bit later in the afternoon and that's it? Because it seems to me that a lot of people are just doing this out of convenience for missing at breakfast, loading up at lunch and really going heavy at 8 o'clock when it's, and kind of getting a lot in there when you're kind of getting ready for sleep almost, So what are your thoughts on that?
No, that's exactly what I was going to say too, is that the people who typically tend to skip breakfast have a fairly large lunch and a very large dinner. And the problem with that is that can lead to acid reflux later at night, which can lead to Barrett's and even, cancer and things like that. So, and that's when you're least insulin sensitive is at night as well. So I think for a lot of people, if you eat a high protein breakfast with some healthy fats, like let's just say steak and eggs, you will not eat as much later on in the day. And it's okay to eat 3 meals in a day, but it's really that last meal that you want it to be pretty moderate. And because you'll get a lot of gains from that because you're less insulin sensitive, you're getting ready to sleep. That's really where you want a small meal is at dinner time.